I am Amy from Tribe Yoga Military, and we are a nonprofit group that works to bring the tools of yoga to the active duty community. And I'm going to share a physical practice with you today. I do this every Monday. I usually alternate like a physical flow practice and one that's more of a self-care, self-awareness practice that brings a physical movement to a certain body part. But today we're going to flow and we're going to explore some lateral movements. We spend a lot of time, especially in yoga, with these long mats moving forwards and backwards. So today I'm going to invite you to explore some variations that will have us move side to side. For this practice, I'm just going to be on a mat, but you can be on a floor. Mat's unnecessary. I'm also going to use a yoga strap. If you don't have a yoga strap, no big deal. One, don't worry about it. Or two, you can use a scarf. You can use a belt, or you can even use a kitchen towel or a hand towel for how we're using it today. So if you don't have one of those on hand, I will give you a second to go and get it and talk to you a little bit about Tribe's Facebook Live offerings while we're waiting to get it. We have practices 3 to 4 days a week, usually 4 days a week. They range from breath work to meditation to just general yoga discussion, questions about self-care, or currently Cece is doing a series on different types of yoga and the importance of different types. So join us any day, and additionally we have videos available all the way reaching back until March. So we have quite a large library now, which you should be able to find on our Facebook page by just finding the button that says videos, clicking it, and you'll see our whole collection. So we'll get started now. Again, I have a strap. I'm also going to start sitting up on the block. You could also sit up on a towel or a blanket. It just helps lengthen the back, especially the low back, and provide a little bit of opening to the hips. I'm going to have my straps next to me. Again, you can use a scarf, a belt, even a kitchen towel for today's practice. So go ahead and sit up or come to sit on your mat. I'm going to take an easy seat. For me, cross-legged is comfortable. So for you, find a seat that's comfortable for you. Reach the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. Maybe roll the shoulders onto your back to arrive today. Let's take a full inhale through the nose. And full exhale out the mouth to arrive. Another full inhale through the nose. Full exhale out the mouth, letting go whatever has happened today, whatever will happen today. Know that now the only requirement you have is to be here. Last full inhale here. With the audible exhale out the mouth. And from here, I invite you, if you're comfortable, to continue to breathe just in and out the nose. So to start today, I invite you to take the strap between your hands, a little wider than shoulder width apart. Then inhale, we'll just, and I'll fold it in half so I don't have it dangling in front of me. So we'll inhale, reach the strap up. And then exhale, reach the strap back down. And I'm actually pulling the strap away from each other, hands away from each other, low ribs knitted in. Inhale up, just hinging at the shoulders here. Exhale back down. Inhale up, and this time we're going to stay up. Exhale as you draw the shoulders away from the ears, lengthen through the neck. And now on the inhale and exhale, let's play a little tug of war, side to side with the hands. Inhale left, exhale right. And so we often move the strap and move the arms in this up and down position, but here we're moving laterally. And I'm actually pulling and gripping the strap pretty strongly. Notice if you do that, if you're also clenching your jaw, clenching your eyebrows, anything unnecessarily, just shifting side to side. And then inhale here, reach the strap all the way up, and exhale the strap back down. We can put that to the side now. And just move, if you're sitting on something, you can move that out of the way, and we'll come to meet in a tabletop pose. I'm actually going to face you today once we establish tabletop so that you can see my lateral movements. So let's go ahead and meet with the hips stacked over the knees and the shoulders stacked directly over the wrists. And reach the tailbone towards the backs of the knees as you draw your sternum or your breastbone towards the front of the mat. Ground down through the hands fully, especially the pointer finger and the wrist here, as we begin some lateral shifts of the wrist. And let's actually, I said to take the knees under the hips, but once you have that, if it's comfortable for you, maybe open the knees a little bit wider for today's movement. Just notice how that feels in your body. And so from here, at the shoulders, let's just shift side to side. So moving your shoulders, your torso to the left of the wrists and then to the right. Notice how that feels on the wrists, how that feels within your shoulders. Broadening through the collarbones so that you could still pull your sternum or your breastbone between your arms. And let's find stillness. And then let's turn the fingers towards each other. A little bit of a wrist warm up here. And then again, shift side to side. And see with this difference in the arms, it may feel different in the shoulders. Continue to draw your hip points towards your spine. Tailbone lengthening to the back of your knees to engage your core here, especially with the knees a little bit wider. See if you notice that creates a little bit more activation of the core. Let's find stillness again. Returns hands to the original position. So point your finger pointing towards the top of your mat. And then again, with knees in a slightly wider position, let's laterally shift the hips. So it can be a little tricky to isolate the movement, but imagine that your hip or your sacrum was like the top of a typewriter, moving side to side. So there'll be some movement within the torso a little bit, but see if you can isolate it. And when you gaze back, see if on the shift, then the hip is closer to the knee, and then on the way back. And notice the tendency of the torso to maybe also shift side to side. And perhaps you notice a little bit more opening in the groin. Continue to breathe, find stillness here. And then we'll take a lateral variation of cat-cow. So instead of shifting the spine up and down, we will turn the neck to look towards the back hip as you reach this back hip to the side. So I'll rotate again here. So I'm going to swing my hip to the right side of my mat as I gaze over my right shoulder to my hip, kind of like a dog wagging their tail, and then shift to the opposite way. So side body opening and spinal rotation here. Imagine your vertebrae almost slithering like a snake. So you inhale and exhale. And we'll find stillness here in our tabletop variation. So knees still a little bit wider. And from here, let's tuck the toes. And I'm going to go ahead and tuck the toes so that they're all the way to the outer edges of my mat for our lateral variation of a down dog here. Walk the hands one handprint forward. Reach the tailbone to the backs of the knees as you draw your hip points to your spine. Full inhale here. And with toes tucked on your exhale, slowly lift your sternum back to your knees. And then as you're ready, begin to straighten your legs just as much as you're able. Just notice how this down dog with legs wide, so my feet are as wide as my mat, feels different than a regular down dog. And so from here, as we did in tabletop, I invite you to shift your hips side to side. So hip moves to the right side of the mat and the legs follow. Hips move to the left side of the mat. And again, notice if your torso has a tendency to follow. And if so, can you isolate it? The movement just in the hips and the legs. Inhale here, and then on the exhale, let's find stillness.
Ground down through the hands, the pointer finger, and the base of the pointer finger as you spin the upper arms in towards your ears and reach your sternum back towards this wide opening at your feet. Crown of the head reaches between your hands as your gaze reaches between the feet. It doesn't matter if how straight your legs are, whatever straight is for you today. Full inhale here. And on the exhale, let's shift forward to plank pose. You might need to wiggle your legs back a bit to get your shoulders over your wrists. Inhale here. And on the exhale, reach back for this wide-legged down dog. Inhale forward to plank with wide legs. Exhale, back to wide-legged down dog. And with your breath, let's shift forward here. A few more times. Inhale, wide-legged plank. Exhale, wide leg down dog. Inhale, wide-legged plank. Let's hold here. Wide-legged plank. Reach the sternum again through the arms as you broaden through the collarbones. And then slowly release the knees to the mat at the same time. You can bring the toes together to touch as you reach your hips to your heels, if child's pose is a comfortable pose for you. From there, root down through the shins and then rise up to this kneeling pose. And I'm going to face the long edge of my mat, and I actually invite you to also face towards the long edge of your mat. And we'll inhale, lift the arms up here. Exhale, the hands behind the back, and we'll interlace the hands behind the back. And as we did in the beginning of the practice with the strap overhead, let's just shift the arms side to side. And if you can't interlace the hands behind your back, go ahead and grab that towel or the strap from the beginning of class. Use it, again, just shifting laterally behind the back, trying to see if you can lift the hands, the fist, the strap, whatever you're using, from your back or from your bottom, wherever you're reaching there. Find stillness, release the hands, and we'll bring them to our hips now. So again, everyone facing the long edge of their mat, let's explore some lateral movement. So walking on your knees here, to see if you can laterally walk on your knees side to side. So grounding down, trying to balance just on this one knee, opening up and walking. And notice if it's awkward for you, or maybe you do this a lot, maybe you've never done this before. Just a different form of balance. We often think of balance in yoga either being arm balances, maybe single leg balances, but not very much single knee balance. So again, see if you can hover on just this one knee, release it back down, walk side to side again, ground down through the opposite knee and lift, and maybe you can hover here again. Notice where your body will compensate to help support the hover. Release that knee back down. We can actually stay in this lateral positioning of the wide leg of the mat. Let's come back into tabletop pose. And so now you are free to maintain the exercises that we did earlier in tabletop or take the plank variations. So from here, I'll walk my hands forward just to, I've got a wall behind me, so that I can extend forward into plank pose. I have my feet just about shoulder widths apart. Ground down strongly through my hands as I spin the upper arms towards each other. Again, reaching the sternum between the hands. And then just shift laterally. Notice how this feels on the wrist. Again, you can come and do any of these exercises in tabletop at any point. Draw the hip points to the spine. Strong plank pose. One long line of energy, reaching the heels away from the crown of the head. Notice how this is different as you shift. Let's find stillness here. Full inhale here. Full exhale. From here, I'm going to ground down through my left foot, hover my right foot off of the mat, so I'm just in a one-legged plank, and then swing this leg out to the side. So looking at this lateral movement of the leg, and I'll turn to the side so you can see this. So again, one-legged plank, and you can do this variation in tabletop pose. Swing the leg laterally to the side. And in tabletop pose, we'd be down on the knee, extending the leg back, swinging to the side. So take the variation that works for you. Let's ground down through that leg now. Switch leg. I'll turn this way so I don't run into the wall. So ground down through the right leg now. Shift to the side, maybe gazing back. Extending long through the side body and noticing as you shift laterally here with the leg, where does your body want to compensate? Again, feel free to do this in tabletop. And let's find stillness. We can actually, even if you're in plank pose, all meet in a tabletop pose at this point. Tuck the toes, walk the hands one handprint up. And as we did before, let's take the feet all the way to the outer edges of the mat. Hover the knees off the ground, and then reach the heart back towards the leg for this wide-legged down dog. Again, shift the hips laterally, side to side. Maybe you notice a little bit more opening in the back of your legs, a little more opening in the groin. Maybe nothing, that's okay too. Gaze forward between your hands and bending your knees as much as possible. Let's take the feet up to the hands. And again, I invite you to keep the feet wide all the way to the outer edges of the mat. Deep bend in the knees to fold over the legs here. Full inhale through the nose. Full exhale. See if you can get a little lower, release the low back, ground down through the feet, and on your inhale, rise up. From here, feet maintain this wideness, and we'll take a chair pose variation. So inhale the arms up, and then on the exhale, let's come to this wide-legged chair pose. And so hands can be to the hips or in front of you, whatever they're comfortable, so that you maintain this length of the low back. And just notice, how is this wide-legged chair pose different for you? See if you can wiggle the toes, reaching the hips back. Inhale here, exhale, ground down through the feet, and rise up. Do one more variation on that. Let's bring the feet a little bit closer this time. My feet are still not touching, still about 2 fists apart, shoulder width apart. Inhale, arms up. Exhale to sit back in the chair. From here, let's ground down through the right foot. So I'll hover the left and actually step it back, almost like a little bit of a curtsy squat if you're familiar with this, and hands can be wherever's comfortable for you. So exploring these lateral patterns. Shift now through the right foot, or excuse me, left foot. Hover the right, and then shift into this lateral squat, curtsy style. So bring this back, ground down through both, maintain the chair pose. Shift the weight to the opposite foot, hover here, and see if you can bring it back, curtsy squat. Inhale here, hover the foot, replace that foot, hover the opposite foot, step it back for a curtsy, ground down through that foot, hover here all in slow motion, ground down again, root down through your feet, inhale, rise up. If you're not facing the long edge of your mat, again, I invite you to face the long edge of your mat for this next variation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sit back in your chair. And I've just got my standard chair pose, so for me, my feet are always about shoulder width apart. I'll bring my hands to my hips now. And as we did on our knees earlier, let's just shift our chair. These lateral walks side to side. Inhale back to center. Go all the way across the mat, maintaining this length of the low back. Notice if you have a tendency to round, you can even take a hand to the front and to the side. So I'm just demonstrating here so you can see my hands. If you're comfortable doing that, to help remind you to maintain this length. Let's find stillness, root down through your feet. On your inhale,
rise back up. You can all meet, actually you can stay facing this way if that works for your room. For me, I will maintain this, or you can move back to the front of the mat. Inhale, arms lift, gaze lifts. Exhale, forward fold. You can have a deep bend in your knee to bring your hands to the mat, and then walk your hands forward. And from here, walking side to side, you can feel free to shift as we did earlier in our plank pose, or you can try to walk your plank laterally. So walk out with a hand and a foot, walk out with a hand and a foot. I shift with my hands and my feet, and see if you can just walk the long distance. Along the long width of your mat. My voice is getting very shaky. Continue to reach your hip points to the backs of your spine. Lengthen the tailbone towards your heels as you reach your tails strongly away from the crown of your head, lengthening through your back. So as we shift laterally, we are still focusing on length of the spine. Find stillness here. We can all release both knees to the mat at the same time. If it's comfortable in your body, you can reach your hips back to your heels. Full inhale here. Full exhale. Bring the feet again to the outer edge of the mat. Tuck the toes, ground down through the hands. Hands are a little bit beyond the shoulders. Root down especially through the pointer finger. So you full inhale. Exhale to reach the hips back. Reach the sternum between those wide legs. And from here, let's again walk the feet wide up to the hands. Root down through the feet. And on the inhale, roll up. Again, I invite you to face toes to the long edge of your mat. I'm going to open up my hands and bring my ankles so that they're about under my wrists. I'll bring my hands to my hips, firm my thigh muscles to the bone to activate my quadriceps and lift my kneecaps. Ground down strongly through the pinky toe edge of my foot so I can actually see here from this position that my inner arch is lifted. Full inhale here. And on my exhale, I'm going to reach forward with my heart, just finding the forward fold that works for you. So you can have a deep bend in your knees to bring your hands to the ground. You can even have a chair in front of you or maybe a yoga block. You can even use the wall. So again, as we did in the beginning, having our hands on our belly and our back to make sure that we're not rounding. As soon as we round, we've gone too far. So for some people, being upright is the max. Then stay there, okay? And that is a lot of opening already. So wherever you are, root down through the feet, micro bend in the leg, and on your inhale, rise back up. Now, let's take the toes so that they're out to the top corners of the mat. So a little bit more of a V shape. Bend the knees, and let's track the knees over the second toe. If I have my hand on my knees, they're pointing right at the second toes. I'm just going to shift here, again, lateral shifts. Find the bend of the knee that works for you. As you inhale and exhale, shift laterally. Continue to reach the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Draw the shoulder blades behind the back. Find stillness here. Root down through your feet. And on your inhale or exhale, rise up. Bring the feet, inner arches back to parallel. And again, reach the sternum forward, just like in plank pose, as you move to your variation of forward fold. And again, that might be upright for you. Maybe being upright is enough in your inner legs. Full inhale here. Full exhale to stay. Root down through your feet. I'm going to bring my hands to my hips. On my inhale, rise back up. I'll wiggle my feet back together here. Come to the front of the mat. Inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale to fold. Bend my knees to plant my hands and step back with one knee and into the other to come to a tabletop pose. Reach my hips to my heels for tabletop, or you can just come to sit up in a thunderbolt, sitting with your hips over your heels over under your hips. Full inhale here. Full exhale. From here, I invite you, again, you can sit on a blanket, or you can have blankets under your knees, depending on the flexibility of your hamstrings. But just bring your legs as much as you are still able to breathe and sit comfortably without a lot of rounding in the spine. Open the legs wide. So a great variation is to sit up on a block or a towel, or to put blankets under the knees. I invite you to reach the crown of the head up to the ceiling, draw the shoulder blades onto your back. You can even bring the hands behind you. Go ahead and gaze at your toes and see if they're reaching straight forward. A lot of times our legs will bend in towards each other, which is not providing the opening here. So firm the quadricep muscles to the bone, and then as though you were rotating, or actually rotating at the hip, rotate at the hip, the femur, the leg all the way up, reaching up to the sky. So knees up to the sky, toes are up to the sky. Hands can be behind you to help reach through the low back. Full inhale here. Full exhale. From here, we'll inhale the arms up. And we don't need the strap this time, but as we did in the beginning of class, let's reach the arms side to side. Notice if they feel any different now. And then the next time they reach to the right side, you can release the right arm to the mat or to your leg and then reach up and over. So again, using this lateral movement to open the side body and even into the low back. Inhale back to center, shifting the arm side to side. Release the left hand to the left side of the mat or to the leg and reach up and over. Side body opening here. Full inhale here. Full exhale. Now I invite you to see if you can flow with your breath from side to side. Controlling the movement with your obliques, your side body muscles. So it's a little bit of a stretch and a little bit of core strength together. Continue to draw your shoulders away from your ears. Little weight in your hands as you bring them to the earth. Maybe they even float. And find stillness here. And just notice how that feels in your body. Full inhale. Full exhale. So you're ready, I invite you to take your hands under your knees to slowly bring your legs back together, back to center. If you're sitting up on a block or a pillow or a blanket, and move it to the side. And using your hands, I invite you to roll down to your back. From here, release both of your shoulder blades onto the back or onto the mat. Release your sacrum onto the mat, and then extend one leg and the other long. And perhaps your legs and your arms are a little bit more open, a little bit wider than they are usually. Thinking that it's okay to go off of your mat. It's okay to have this lateral opening and movement within yoga. So find your space. Let your toes reach out laterally. Again, maybe a little bit more open than usual. Imagine your arms spinning open into the side a little bit more than usual. Rock the back of your head side to side. Again, emphasizing this lateral movement, even of the head. I'm going to sit up to cue you, but I invite you to stay within this final relaxation pose today. you fully inhale through your nose. On the exhale, send the air to the outer edges of your body. The outer left, the outer right, which you explored today. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, this time send the breath to the outer edges of your core, your oblique muscles. They worked hard today within your side shifting planks, side shifting beasts. Inhale here. And exhale, I invite you to stay in this final relaxation pose as long as you are able, hopefully at least 5 minutes. Thank you for joining me today with our tribe yoga movement practice. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please share with others and feel free to share our mission. Thank you for practicing with me today. If you're comfortable, when you're ready, you can bring the palms of your hands together. In yoga, we say the word namaste to say thank you. Namaste.